Welcome, everybody, to the Sideline Speaks. Kevin Walker and Jason Collins. Brittany Jones will be here, ladies and gentlemen. She's running a little bit late, but Britt should be here probably in about 15 minutes. So if you're looking for Britt, stick around. She will definitely be joining us shortly. But for right now, it's just me and K Walk, and we got a lot of good stuff to get into. Obviously, tons of stuff with the NFL. We're going to talk about the NFL playoffs. We're going to talk about the games from this weekend. We're also going to preview the upcoming games. So tons of NFL stuff that we're going to get into for you guys. But first, I think we're going to start with college football because we did finally get to a college football national championship game last night. It felt like a really long college football season, K-Walk, obviously with the U12 team playoff, which I love. But I wouldn't mind if they could maybe move the season up a little bit so that college football ends a little earlier, so it's not blending in with all the NFL stuff. But nevertheless, we had a game last night. Ohio State takes down Notre Dame. Ryan Day wins his first national championship. What were your thoughts on the game, K-Walk? How did you feel about that Buckeyes performance?
Yeah, man, I thought they came out the way I expected them to come out because they had a lot of pressure, meaning they, not just Ohio State. I think that the two people or players and coaches that had the most pressure on them was, you mentioned Ryan Day, and I think Will Howard as well, especially, the way he played earlier in the season against Oregon, and I think it was Michigan as well. But nonetheless, they came out and, Notre Dame had that long drive. I think it was about 10 minutes, 9 minutes and change. And then they capitalized off with the, with the Leonard, with the Riley touchdown. But you had said something interesting because Ohio State had came right back and answered, like, I don't know how many plays it was, but it just looked easy for them. It looked like they scripted it and they executed it to the T. And you had said something interesting. Listen, this is going to sound crazy, but I don't think Notre Dame scores again in this game, guys. And I agree with you too, Jay. I agree with you too because of the fact of the matter is they had that long drive. They probably called every play in their first 2 pages of their playbook, their best plays as well, because they knew they had to score early. If they got the ball first, they had to score early, to kind of set the tone, to kind of give everyone confidence that they can, play with Ohio State. But Ohio State just came back and just went right down the field. And you mentioned it, that looked too easy. But, then Ohio State, they went up by 14. And then Notre Dame kind of came back a little bit. They chipped away, but ultimately, the final score of the game was they won by 11. I thought Ryan Day and those guys had an excellent game plan. I executed it again to the T, and just was really just the outman. I mean, Notre Dame got there on sheer team ball, if you will. I think they were. Notre Dame. Ohio State was just had too many guys that were just better than them, and so many different levels, especially on the outside with number 4 there, and Will Howard was on point. So it went according to plan, according to Ohio State's plan. Got the monkey off of Ryan Day's back, so I think he'll be here for a little while longer. I'm not a Notre Dame guy. I told you guys, I don't care who they're playing. I just root for that particular team. It has nothing to do with Marcus Freeman. I know he's an African-American coach and everything like that, but I'm just not a Notre Dame guy. I've never been a Notre Dame guy, so I was going for Ohio State. But at the same time, I've been saying Ohio State was the best team in the country going in by far.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get too far into this thing, K-Walk, shout out Sandy and Sean. What's going on, Sandy?
Hey, guys.
We appreciate you joining in every single week for sure.
So appreciate it.
And K-Walk, man, you're absolutely right. I mean, the thing I really do like about this playoff is, number one, it brings more teams to the party. And number two, I think the best team in the country won the championship this year. Right? I think there's been other years where if a team gets left out that everyone thinks should be in, or, you only invite 2 or 4 teams to the party, sometimes there could be an argument that the best team is on the outside looking in. I think with this 12-team playoff, that puts all that to rest. I think Ohio State had the best roster top to bottom.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Notre Dame was just outmanned from a talent standpoint.
Yeah.
And, Ohio State was going to win that football game, barring some unusual things happening, block punts, a bunch of turnovers, things like that. I just didn't think Notre Dame really had a chance. To their credit, though, they hung around. I mean, Marcus Freeman, I think deserves a lot. He's building
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
They're disciplined. They're tough. They definitely don't give up, and they're going to fight you right down to the very end. So,
Yeah.
I think Freeman and Notre Dame, have a bright future ahead of them. But this Ohio State's year, man, the talent on that roster is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, Walk, it wasn't that long ago, 3-4 weeks ago, where everyone was calling for Ryan Day's head.
Yeah.
The Ohio State people wanted him out because he's lost to Michigan 4 straight times. Does this national championship quiet that noise, or until he beats Michigan, is he sort of going to be in the crosshairs? At least, maybe not with the Ohio State administration, but with the fans.
Right.
What do you think about that?
No, Jay, I think this quiets the noise for a long period of time. They can go out here, and if they lose to Michigan again and then go back out and win in back-to-back championships, which I think as of right now they are the favorites to go back-to-back.
Yeah.
I think the Ohio State fan base, I would like to think that the Ohio State fan base would forgive him, would say, listen, if we got to sacrifice an Ohio State Michigan game, we lose to Michigan, but we get a national championship. I don't know what fan base in the world would substitute that, would not go for that, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think that if you have to sacrifice losing to, if it means you lose.
I lost you that last part, K-Walk. I think you're muted. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Okay. So I think anyone, my fault. I think anyone would. I think Brittany did that, but I
think I'm just entering the room. Wait a minute here. What's going on, guys?
But I just to finish my thought. Yeah, I just think that Ohio State would sacrifice a loss to Michigan and lieu for of a national championship. I think Brittany, who's an Ohio State fan, would agree with that. I would like to think she agrees with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome, Britt. How are you?
What's going on, Britt?
I want to agree, but I kind of didn't get all of that last point there. So I'm just coming in.
Okay.
Well, you can just shake your head and say you agree. I like that. What's that? A hoodie, Britt? Is that a hoodie or a zip up? What you got going on there? That looks good. I like that.
The hoodie. It's my Adidas hoodie.
Yeah, that looks good, Britt. I like
it. Ready for the Daytona 500 over there.
Every so often, Adidas comes out with something nice and something that I like. But what about Ohio State, guys? Let's go.
Yeah, we're just talking about them. Britt, you came in just at the right time. We know you're a Buckeye fan. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, how does Brittany become an Ohio State Buckeye fan? I mean, you're right there. You're Philly, you're South Jersey. Penn State seems like the obvious choice for you, but nevertheless, somehow you ended up a Buckeye fan. What are your thoughts on your Buckeyes winning the national championship?
Well, let me get to the story about how one of my favorite players, running backs, is from Philadelphia. Went to Ohio State. No. And then he played for the Tennessee Titans, or at the time it was the Oilers, Eddie George. So I kind of just followed him just a little bit. So that's how I kind of stuck to Ohio State a little bit. But again, I still have love for Penn State. I know they're rivals, but for me, it's no hate because that is home. Kind of, sort of. They a little far, but kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ohio State, my thoughts. They dominated. They made me nervous towards the end of that game. I was a little nervous, but the defense stepped up. I think it was a turnover, a big time turnover. Was it a turnover? I know Ohio State turned the ball over, and then I think, they missed the field goal. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They missed the field goal at the end of the game. But no, Howard played a pretty good game. He's the only guy probably on that team that makes me more nervous. But the last couple of games he's been playing very, very well. What can you say? The receiving core there with Jeremiah Smith and the other guy, I can never say his name. That they came up huge, came up very, very, very big. Incredible play calls by Chip Kelly. And you know how our Philadelphia fans feel about him, but I had to give him credit where credit is due. He called a good game. Running backs played very well, but most important, the defense was incredible. I think outside of the corner towards the end of the game, they started to get a little too handsy. I don't know why they started to panic, and they didn't have to. But I have to give credit to Notre Dame. They made it interesting towards the end of that game. And that one receiver was a Great House is his name.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Incredible receiver. Like, my goodness, he was making all of the catches. That's like, as a fan, you're like, why are you doing this now? You didn't do this the entire game. Why now? But at the end of the day, we pulled it out, and I was excited. So,
yeah, it was definitely a good game, good win for Ohio State. Congrats to them. That's 2 in a row for the Big Ten. So we'll see if they keep that rolling next year. So very interesting.
That other one doesn't count.
You just gonna not count Michigan's?
They cheat, so we ain't worry about them. They're gonna act like it and continue to cheat into the championship.
Maybe an asterisk next to that one.
Right.
All right, good stuff, man. We're gonna leave the college football talk there. Britt, I'm gonna turn it back over to you so you can kind of take us through all the NFL stuff.
That's all you got for us today, Jay?
That's all I got for right now. If we got some time at the end, I got a couple other things we can get into, but I think the people probably want to talk some NFL, so we should probably jump into that.
Can I do the OHIO chair? No. All right, I'll do that later.
Yeah,
I have no problem with it, Brett.
Let's get into what we've seen over the weekend at the NFL divisional round. We're just gonna go game by game. I have some questions for you guys. Just give me your thoughts. I guess let me see. First games. I know we're you really want to talk about this game here, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Houston Texans 23-14. Just give me your overall thoughts on the game. And could the Texans have done anything differently? K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
Yeah, I think Troy Aikman said it best when Patrick Mahomes slid down, the two guys slid over him and hit each other. He was like, "Come on, man, just come on, like, wow, like, what is that about?" Like when Troy Aikman, and he was a former quarterback, mind you, a Hall of Fame quarterback, 2-3-time Super Bowl champion as well. Troy Aikman has gone through so many different concussions. I mean, he's been hit so many times, been knocked out so many times, and half of those weren't even penalties. But for him to get that penalty there, man, it just goes to show you what type of, what type of playoffs that we're looking at. They want to see something that they've never seen before. Three-peat. We have teams that go after it, but wasn't able to achieve it. But that's just what it goes down to. I thought CJ Stroud, I thought he held on to the ball too many times. In my opinion, he looked like he just didn't know what to do with the ball. I know he's not a running quarterback, but I think he has enough mobility where it would allow him to extend the play, if not gain 1 or 2 yards. But some of those sacks that he took were just totally unnecessary. And I thought he should have just got rid of the ball. Just, as my coach back in the day used to tell our quarterbacks, throw it in the tuba. Throw it in the tuba. And what that means is just throw it in the stands, throw it in the band with the guy playing the tuba. Just throw it out of bounds, basically, what that meant. But he didn't do that, and he did it like at least 4 or 5 times that I can remember off the top of my head, and I think that cost them. And they still had an opportunity to win that game despite the refs and the bad calls that they made and some of the plays that that Patrick Mahomes. And again, I'm not trying to take everything away from Patrick Mahomes. He does earn some of the things that he does. Not every, but I'm just saying. Right. I just think that some things he gets away with too much, just like the flop. The flop on the sideline. I'm surprised they didn't make that call, but nonetheless, I just hats off to the Texans as a whole. I thought CJ Stroud, again, getting rid of the ball and not getting rid of the ball kind of cost them that game. They had an opportunity to win that game.
Yeah, I didn't watch but so much of the game, to be honest with you. I think it's just I get tired. Those calls. I'm just like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to continue to watch the same thing over and over, have every single year happens with these calls. Especially, I think it was the face mask. You didn't touch them. So you calling, you didn't even touch them. So it can be frustrating, but I'm with you, K Walk. I think hats off to the Texans. I thought the Texans defense played very well. And they kept them in this game. And I do think there were plays to be made with CJ Stroud. Fortunately, that's what Kansas City does. If you don't take opportunities, the opportunities that they give you, they'll end up beating you on the other side. And that's exactly what they did. So, but I think CJ Stroud, this Texans team is very young. I love D'Amico Ryans as a head coach. They'll be healthy next year, so he'll have all his guys back. So that's not, they got this far without Stephon Diggs, without I don't think Nico Collins was playing.
No, Tank Dell. I think it was Tank Dell. Was it
Tank Dell?
Yeah, Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. I'm sorry. So so some of your top playmakers weren't playing. But the Chiefs go on to the next round, and we'll see what happens in the next round with them. I felt like they were probably going to get to the AFC Championship again, but I have to give credit where credit is due. And the Texans definitely played them tough. But Jay, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I really like this Texans organization. I think they have a bright future. I love D'Amico Ryans. Those guys play hard. I mean, they play hard, and they've drafted well. They've done a really good job of putting a team together. So I do think that their future is bright. You guys talked about it last week. K-Walk, you were saying, you can't spell chief without R-E-F. And you guys were talking about the officiating, and I chuckled at it and laughed with you guys, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know. Like, are the Chiefs really getting calls? But then I really locked in and watched this game, K-Walk. And there were definitely calls in that game that went in the Chiefs' favor that I'm not going to say it changed the outcome of the game, because who knows, but it definitely made it harder on the Texans. Like, whether it was, giving the Chiefs a penalty on a third down where they could continue a drive, or the Texans getting a penalty when they would make a first down and it would end their drive. Like, just little things like that, either extending drives or taking drives away, that just make it more difficult for you to win the football game. And I didn't want to believe it, because I just prefer the refs to be out of it, and I want our sports to be pure. At least that's what I want to believe anyway. Yeah. But it's hard to walk away from that game and not feel like the refs didn't influence it in the Chiefs' favor. I'm not saying that's the reason they won. I'm just saying they got a couple more opportunities because of calls, and then obviously when you get more opportunities, eventually you're going to make some plays. So that part of it really did bother me. But at the end of the day, look, they made the plays that they had to make at the end. Mahomes late in that game, finding Kelsey in the end, all those kind of things. So we'll see what happens this weekend with the Bills, man. But I don't know. I think for me, kind of just watching that, I was just a little disappointed, because I did feel like those calls had an impact on the football game.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I'm sorry, Brett, but you mentioned calls, and they made another call, though I thought that just set the Chiefs over the top tremendously, maybe in the not just the near future, but down the road. They brought Caitlin Clark into the cult, man. They got Caitlin Clark into the cult, man. It's a wrap for the rest of the league. It's a wrap. They got Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark. Hey, but they can't lose, bro. It
feels like it's the world against the Chiefs this year.
What? Oh my God.
Like the entire world's to get against the Chiefs. I feel like there is a storyline to be had. I really think it is. I think it's a storyline, and part of that storyline for either the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl is, will the Chiefs three-peat? Will they be the first team in the history of the NFL to three-peat? And you can't tell me politics don't play a part in this. And that's a storyline that a lot of people really want to see if that's going to come to fruition or not. So I feel like the refs may play a part until either the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl. Then they'll step back. But we'll see what happens. We will really see what happens. I do have a follow-up question. Because it seems like, I don't know if you guys seen the announcement, but next year the NFL has decided to include the opportunity or the ability to challenge face masks. I don't know if that's going to go to different unsportsmanlike contact or personal foul calls, or passing the roughing the passer calls. But I know it's at least face mask that you can have the ability to challenge. What are your thoughts on this? Jamma, comes to you first.
Look, I'm in favor of getting it right, you know. So if a face mask is missed and you can challenge it to get the call right, I'm in favor of it, especially because that doesn't seem like a review that's going to take a long time. Like you can look at it, either he grabbed his face mask or not, right? So I think that could be a speedy review. So if it's going to help them get it right, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Walker, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm like Jay there. I mean, I don't see too many missed calls as far as the face mask go. I do see some, but I don't see a ton of face mask calls that are being missed. So I'm okay with that. And again, like you kind of alluded to, Britt, like what would the penalty be? Would it be a 15-yard if you win the challenge? Is it a 5-yard? I don't know if they're going to go back to the 5-yard like they did back in the day, and it'd be just a 5-yard automatic first down, or will it be a 15-yard? But I'm good with it. And if it could be one of those expedited or those replay assist type deal where the coaches don't have to use one of their challenges, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think I'm all for it as well. I'm all about, especially when it comes to football, get the call right. Get the call right and make sure it's fair, because I think some of these calls, it's usually lean towards the advantage to the offensive side. 15 yards penalty, 15 yards is a lot, and that's a game changer. And we've seen that in this Chiefs Texans game. You know, that your defense can be playing well, but one missed call by the ref could completely change the trajectory of the game. So, and we don't want that. We want the calls to be right. All right, guys, let's go to our next game. Let's do Eagles. The Eagles beat the Rams 28-23. Just give me your overall thoughts on what you've seen in this game. K-Walk, I'm gonna start with you first.
Overall thoughts is Saquon Barkley is a bad man. That's what it comes down to. I mean, good gracious. I mean, you can go in there with that game plan. Look, I'm going to put 8 in the box. I'm going to go man. I'm going to put a spy on Jalen Hurts, and he just finds a way. Meaning Saquon Barkley just finds a way to get through that little bit of a hole that it is. Or he'll set it up where he'll go one way, pause a little bit, allow his blockers to get in position, and then he goes, he cuts off of that. He did an excellent job of doing that, and not just doing it in conditions that they did it in the snow. Just hats off to him, man. I mean, but I know you guys, meaning you Eagle fans, were happy at the 4-minute mark. I heard the music playing and everything like that, the Fly Eagle Fly song, and then it kind of got tight there for a minute. I heard a lot of that.
Stop being in my household, sir. Get out my household.
No, I heard it everywhere. I heard it on the stadium. I heard it in the link. I heard it everywhere. But nonetheless, you know what? They didn't play their best game in the Eagles, but they found a way to win. If you could stop Saquon Barkley, you're going to have a chance. But they had a chance to win the game, meaning the Rams, even with Saquon Barkley rushing over 205 yards. I think he rushed for 205 yards.
Yeah,
I think that was his exact number. And the Rams still had a chance to win. I think a lot of people will sign up for that. A lot of teams that played at the Eagles. If Saquon Barkley gives you you give up 205 yards to Saquon Barkley, and you still had a chance, you have the ball in that last minute and to go up to win the game. I think a lot of people will sign up for that. Let's just see how they bounce back, what kind of adjustments that they make. Because the Commanders are here for a reason. They're not a fluke. They're not a fraud by any stretch of imagination. I know you guys like to use that word as far as Eagles fans go, but we're going to see. We're going to see. Jalen Daniels is the real deal. But I say all that, but I still going with the Eagles. I'm still not going to go against the Eagles. But the reason why you play the game, but the game overall, I thought the Rams did an excellent job. They just turned the ball over at the wrong time. Kyren Williams and Matthew Stafford, Matthew Stafford just turned the ball over at the wrong times, and you can't do that with an optimistic defense like the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, that's the story of the entire playoffs. The teams that turn the ball overs are out.
Yeah.
All the teams that didn't turn the ball over, they are the ones that advance. So the key is of football is to take care of the football, right? So, or mainly any sport. I think Saquon Barkley was incredible. Of course, I think every week he plays an incredible game, but I have to give kudos what kudos is doing. That's the offensive line for them big guys are blocking. Um, and that's Jeff Stoutland, of course. He's the offensive line coach as well as the run game coordinator. So that's all of him as well. But I have to give kudos to Jalen Hurts too. I understand he took some unnecessary sacks, and we got to get that ball out of his hands quicker. And I'm coming to Kellen Moore on that one. You got to drop some plays where he's able to get the ball out of his hands quicker, because these long routes, some is on Jalen. I'm gonna give like 3 or 4 of those sacks on Jalen, maybe 3 sacks, and the other 4 has to go on Kellen Moore and that offensive line because they weren't doing what they were supposed to do during those times. But at the end of the day, you can't take those sacks. But Jalen checked into those calls where I think the 3 touchdowns came from, 2 from Saquon Barkley on the big runs, and then 1 from Jalen Hurts on that big run as well. I actually didn't think Jalen did too bad in the passing game. If you look back, AJ Brown had a big drop. Granted, slippery conditions, but slippery conditions for both sides. That was a huge drop. So that's a touchdown that you missed out on. He had a good pass to, I think it was a screen pass to Dallas Goedert that got called back because the offensive lineman was a little bit too far down the field. That's another touchdown that you missed out on. And then the last one was on Lane Johnson with the false start, with the tush push or brotherly shove, whatever the heck you want to call it. That's another touchdown you missed out on. So I think there's missed opportunities on both sides. It's just that it was the advantage to the Philadelphia Eagles on this one, mainly because of that defense. Jalen Carter is incredible. Jalen Carter is incredible. He's only 2 years in, and he is almost unblockable. I think he is basically unblockable, but I agree. They got to improve for next game. We'll see how Jalen Hurts is, how he's feeling. We'll see how Quinyon Mitchell is feeling for next game, but we'll get that to get into that a little bit more with the NFC Championship. But Jay, what are your thoughts on the overall on this game?
Yeah, I thought the Eagles handled the elements a lot better. The Rams were putting the ball on the ground, turning it over. I thought the Eagles did a really good job handling the elements, number one. And look, the Eagles have the kind of football team that they're just going to be a tough out for everyone. I mean, the outstanding offensive line, especially in the run game, an outstanding defensive line. They have 2 good receivers. So it's not like you can just say, well, we're going to, focus on these receivers, because then Saquon's going to hurt you. And then if you say, well, we're going to load up the box, then the receivers are going to hurt you. Now, I do think the last couple of weeks, their passing game just looks like they're just not all the way in sync. So I do think they're going to have to figure out a way to throw the ball better if they're going to go all the way. But man, when you can run the ball like that, and you have a defensive line that can control a line of scrimmage, they're going to be a tough out for everyone. So that football team is built the way you want a team to be built if you're going to win a Super Bowl. So the Eagles are in good shape. They got to work out a couple of kinks in the passing game, but I like what I saw.
Yeah, I need Kellen Moore to come up with some more creative stuff. I don't know if it's too late. I don't know if they got to open this playbook. It's the last 2 games. It's like it's time to throw all your cards out there. Not quite all your cards, but open that playbook a little bit more. Throw some different things out there to throw the defense off. So, but we'll see what happens. This was an interesting game. Kudos to the Rams, especially during the last, like K-Walk said, the last couple minutes of that game came very, very nerve-wracking. Because Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua, my goodness, he is a tough cover. But I had to give credit to Darius Slay as well. Darius Big Play Slay. When I think he's getting older, he shows he still maybe have another year in him every time. All right, guys, let's move on to the next game. All right, so these are the 2 games I know you guys really want to talk about. So that's the Commanders beat the Detroit Lions 45-31. Where the heck was the defense in this one? Let's just talk about the overall. You know what? We'll talk about your thoughts on what happened in the game first before I get to the questions. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first on this.
Yeah, look, number one, I think the Commanders, they're this young, maybe don't even really know kind of what they're getting themselves into kind of football team. and they're playing carefree. Like I said last week, it feels like they're playing with house money. And Jaden Daniels, I mean, you just can't say enough things about how cool he is, how calm he is. The moment is just never too big for him, and he seems to make the play every time you need a play to be made. But on the Detroit side of things, Britt, I really thought that they got a little too cute. I really did. Like, that is a tough, physical football team. And I thought there were just a couple of play calls, especially on the offensive side, where they just tried to get too cute. And I think it cost them the game. That reverse pass comes to mind. Like, why are you putting a receiver in that position to try to decide if they should throw the, like, there's just no reason for it. So I just thought some of the play calls, and people were saying, hey, they've done those kinds of things all year. I haven't watched Detroit all that much. Maybe they have, but in the playoffs, you got to tighten up. So I just thought they were a little loosey-goosey. I think that ended up costing them the football game, but you got to give a lot of credit to the Commanders. They play hard and they're fearless, and that's been able to get them all the way to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Detroit, but this was some of the same issues we had last year with Detroit, right? You just play the game how it should be played. My thing is, with all the injuries that occurred on your defensive side, you're missing 13, 14. No, there's only 11 starters, so I'm bugging. But you're missing 13 good players on your defensive side due to injury. So you're basically playing with guys coming off the street. The offensive side, you don't want to play too cute. You want to get the job done, right? Because your defense is going to struggle to stop the opposing or the opposition. And it's not like the Commanders stink on the offensive side. They're a pretty good football team on the offensive side, with Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels and Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz. A little older, but they could play. And I'm with you on this one. I just think, once again, Dan Campbell was just trying to do things that he probably shouldn't have did. And it cost them once again. So, but again, kudos to the Commanders. This is a good team. I don't know how far they're going to go. But next year, players are going to want to come and play for Jaden Daniels. So this is going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat for many, many years to come. So they're going to be a good team. But K-Walk, what are your overall thoughts on the Lions and Commanders?
Yeah, I think the Commanders did an excellent job of taking advantage of the distraction that went on in Detroit. I think there was a lot of distractions. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but if you look at their offensive and defensive coordinators right now, where they at? Ben Johnson has been hired by Chicago Bears. Aaron Glenn just been hired by the New York Jets. I think as much as they want to downplay that and say they both been hired. I
didn't know Aaron Glenn got hired.
Yeah, and Ben Johnson has accepted the position as well. So I think, as much as, again, the team wants to downplay that, I think it was a distraction, not from the players. I think the players were ready to go. I just don't think the offensive and defensive coordinators were ready to go. They were dialed in, which I thought that would have increased their their negotiating prowess, if you will, going into that. Like, listen, we led them we're in the back-to-back NFC championships. Aaron Glenn can say, well, yeah, we held this team to this, and Ben Johnson can say, well, we put this many points up there as well. I think they were reaching at some point. I really thought as well that the Lions came in there and did not respect the Commanders. I don't think they respected them. I think they were going to go in there and just pretty much just manhandle them. I thought they came in there thinking that the outcome of the game was going to be what it was, but just in reverse, because it was a high-scoring game, and they took them lightly, man. I really think there was a lot of distractions in that Detroit Lions locker room, without question, and they weren't prepared. They thought that just basic football was going to be enough to beat Washington. And to Jay's point as well, when you go to having Jameis Williams going to throw a reverse pass that gets picked off, they were reaching, man. They were reaching, and Dan Campbell. I don't think you could put this one on Dan Campbell. To be honest with you, he didn't have the opportunity to coach this game the way he really wanted to coach this game. And yeah, they can say that they've done these plays and all throughout the season. But yeah, when they were up 20. were up 21 because they outscored their opponents by a ton. So yeah, they can play around with plays like that, when they're up, but when they're down, that's just not going to work. So in my opinion, I thought it was a lot of distraction in that locker room that was the reason for the outcome.
And K-Walk, it's funny you brought that up about the coordinators because I started thinking about that during the game. I was like, I wonder how much of a distraction that was to have those guys during the week or the week that they were off, I guess, going out and interviewing. Look, whether it was a big distraction or a little distraction, it was some kind of distraction.
Yes.
And that they weren't able to do the same kind of attention to detail and work that they would do had they not been off interviewing. So I think that's a great point. I definitely think it made an impact.
Yeah.
So speaking of coordinators, the Lions season is now over. So we go into the next year. Both coordinators have been hired. I definitely knew about Ben Johnson. I did not know about Aaron Glenn just until now. That actually might be a good hire, but we'll get into that a little later. How will this impact the Detroit Lions next year? How do you think this could impact this team next year? Jam, comes to you first.
I definitely think it could hurt them, Britt. I mean, they had two of the best, on both sides of the ball. So are you going to be able to go out and find someone else that's sort of cutting that same mold, especially from the offensive side, to kind of keep that continuity? Is there someone already on the staff, maybe a quarterback coach or something like that can slide into that position? So I definitely think it's going to hurt them on both sides of the ball because Johnson gets a lot of credit for everything that he does on the offense, but I thought Aaron Glenn also did an outstanding job with that defense as well. So it's really going to come down to who can they bring in? Like, can they bring in someone who's sort of on that same level, same caliber of coach? And if not, look, it could impact them because for as much as the head coach usually gets the credit and the blame when teams win and lose, those coordinators really are the ones that are putting the game plan together and doing all the things throughout the week. So those are going to be two huge hires for the Lions.
K-Walk, so similar question, but could this potentially impact their Super Bowl window? Is their Super Bowl window still there?
Yeah, I think it is, Britt. I mean, when you lose two coordinators in the same season, offensive, defense, you can speak of the volumes because your Eagles have done it. It did it, a few years ago or a couple of years ago when they lost their offensive, defensive coordinators at the same time, and look what they did and kind of bringing Kellen Moore in there and bringing Vic Fangio in there. I think to Jay's point as well, Jay kind of alluded to it that, they have someone, there's always a coaching tree. And when you bring in a coordinator like a Ben Johnson and you bring in a defense, he's coming from a tree. If he's not the root, then he's coming, he's coming from somewhere, along that tree, as well as Aaron Glenn. And what you do is you have guys, assistant coordinators or quarterback coaches, or, you have on the defensive side, you have the linebacker coaches who usually are promoted to defensive coordinators, and quarterback coaches are usually promoted to offensive coordinators. So I think they may have someone in-house. If not, they probably have their eyes on someone, and that could have been another distraction as well. It's like, they probably had the inside knowledge that these two guys were going to be gone by the end of the season, and then they were out there looking as well. So I think they get it done. They know what they want to do. They know what their identity is. They don't know what the identity wants to be, and they'll bring the guys in that are comparable to those two guys that they lost. So I think they'll bring them in and get it done. And obviously Jared Goff is going to have something to say about that. Hutch on the defensive end, meaning Aiden Hutchinson, who was out for the season, he's going to have a lot of input into that as well, because these guys want to play with guys that's going to bring out the best of their abilities.
Yeah, and I think another thing is health. They'll be healthy next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's always
guys that weren't there, they're going to be coming right back. And I like Detroit Lions. I really do. I think they have a lot of talent. Especially like the running back duo. And I love that defensive line over there. So it's a lot of young talent on that team. So I don't think their Super Bowl window is not anywhere near close. Not yet. But I will say, this is the second straight year Dan Campbell, I don't know if it was him, I don't know if it was the coordinators, whoever was coaching, and making the decisions that was being made on that field. Second straight year, you probably should have at least made it to the NFC Championship this year, maybe even Super Bowl. But this can't keep going on. That has to change. Something with the decision making has to change. Last question pertaining to this: do you trust Jared Goff in the big moments? So he had 3 interceptions this game. We've seen him in previous games have 5 turnovers and so forth. They just happened to win the last one. Is this a player? The Rams got him out for a reason. And I know a lot of us would say, he's played very well with Detroit Lions, but is this becoming an issue with Jared Goff? Do you trust him? K-Walk, I'm gonna come to you first.
Yeah, I think you got to trust him because he's gotten you to the playoffs back-to-back, back-to-back years. I mean, he was one game away from, from getting to back-to-back NFC championships. And he was probably 1 or 2 play calls away from, or decision-making, I should say, last year of getting to the Super Bowl, because I really thought that, the 49ers kind of stole that one, because I think, the Lions gave that game to the 49ers last year. As much as I'm a 49ers fan, I have to, I have to admit that, but, we'll take it nonetheless. Anything you want to give us to we get to the Super Bowl, we'll take it. But this year, I'm not going to put it on so much on Dan Gamble. I'm not going to put it so much on Jared Goff. I just think the game plan wasn't there. I don't think there was enough emphasis and enough focus on the game plan, from the offensive coordinator standpoint. So I'm not going to put it on Jared Goff. I know he looked horrible, but you still got to give credit to the Commanders. They came out there, Dan Quinn, who's an excellent defensive, play caller. That's where he comes from. He's a defensive guy. We see him with the Legion of Boom in Seattle. So he's still, I know they gave up 31 points, but still, nonetheless. Yeah, so still the fact of the matter is, I think they were kind of late game, they were kind of late scores, if you will, but in the crucial points of the game, they kind of handled them. So with all that being said, I like Jared Goff. I think you put him in a situation where everyone's on board and everyone is focused and everyone is dialed in. I think he can get it done, especially with that, with the offense that he has. You mentioned the 2 running backs in Montgomery and Gibbs. Then he has Laporta. Then he has Brown and Williams and those guys. So I think he has the weapons. I'm gonna put this on the coaching this past loss, not on Jared Goff.
Jay, any thoughts?
Yeah. Look. Yeah, I'm not ready to throw the towel in on him, Britt, and say you can't trust him in big moments. But he certainly didn't play well in this big moment. You started off the show, like the teams that turned the ball over, the teams that lost. So you have to take care of the football. I mean, there's just no other way around it. But to K Walk's point, I think they have enough weapons around him and the right nucleus of players that I do think, given the right circumstances, he could certainly lead a team to a Super Bowl, but he just hasn't done it yet. And he absolutely did not play well the other night at all.
I mean, he has done it with the Rams. It was just a different organization. That Super Bowl game.
And just keep in mind that Detroit is the only NFL team that's never been to the Super Bowl. So maybe it's the curse. I don't know.
They're fighting that. They're fighting that. I thought they went to at least one. I didn't even know that.
They've never been to a Super Bowl.
All right. All right. Last game, guys. The Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens in a tight one, 27-25. I know, K-Walk, your guy had to go home. Jay, I want to get your thoughts on this game. Who is at fault for the Baltimore Ravens losing this one?
Yeah, like that's the question, right? That everyone's asking. Whose fault is it? Because in this day and age, right, we gotta put the blame on somebody. To me, the truth of the matter is it's a team game, right? And if you go back and look at it, there's a lot of different things that happened in that game, and that's the reason why the Ravens did not win. If you look at Andrews, right, and you can clearly point out the fumble and then the drop 2-point conversion, and it's easy to blame him. And even when he caught that ball over the middle and he's starting to loop around, I'm like, where are you going? Like, who are you going to make miss and get around the end? Just get upfield. So I thought that was a poor decision by him. And then obviously dropping the pass was huge. But, Lamar, like that interception, that was like, all interceptions aren't created equal. Sometimes a defensive back just makes a heck of a play, but that one he threw early, like that was like a fair catch on a punt. Like that was a terrible throw. And then the fumble that gets picked up and ran back, deep into their territory. Like they have you. The conditions are not good. Sometimes you just got to know when to give up on a play and say, hey, I'm going to live to play another down. So I don't think Lamar played well in the first half either. I think there's plenty of blame to go around, Britt. Because even I don't think Harbaugh's off the hook. Like, I don't know why coaches chase points in the second and third quarter. Even when he did it in the third quarter and he went for 2, I said, why are you going for 2? Just kick the field goal. There's a lot of game left, and you're going to have to score more points anyway if you're going to win. If he just kicks that field goal, they're not going for 2 at the end of the game, and none of that ever happened. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around, Britt. But if you want me to pick one person, I'd probably go to the quarterback, because the way that he played in the first half is the reason that they were down 10. Had he taken care of the football early, they're probably not in a situation where they need to come back.
K-Walk, jump back in your seat for some reason. I want you to
yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I agree with Jay. Yeah, he did cost, there were 2 turnovers there, but you guys know my age-old saying, you don't have to be great all the time. You just have to be great when you need to be. Lamar Demetrius Jackson was great when he needed to be. He got the ball to Mark Andrews, like Jay mentioned. He pointed out those 2 crucial plays, which I thought was the deciding factor in the game. Mark Andrews would be the first person to tell you that. Lamar won't say it. Lamar won't put it on Andrews. He'll put it on himself, because that's the type of person and player that he is. But that was crucial, Jay. I kind of liked the move that he made, because
I hated it.
Too high up. I liked it, but obviously I didn't like he got his hand around, because that's all he could do was just stick his hand out. He didn't even know he did it. He didn't mean to do it. He was just trying to grab onto something, and then he just got fortunate. He was fortunate enough where he knocked the ball out. And then you come back down, and at the end of the game, where he leads him to Lamar leads him to a touchdown, and it's just a simple flat route to one of the best tight ends in the game, and he just simply drops it. I put my hands up. I'm like, yes, Lamar. I didn't realize it. My wife was like, whoa, wait, Kevin, he dropped it. I'm like, wait, what? Drop what? And I looked at it like, God. I'll let the rest alone. But yeah, Jay, to your point as well, when you chase points, that you always got to go to the analytics, if you will, not the analytics, the analytics, because of the fact of the matter is it's poop, man. When you deal about it, it's all. I hate analytics. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that yesterday. I'll tell you that today, and I'll tell you that tomorrow. I just can't stand when they do chase points, Jay. But they still had an opportunity, to tie that game up and get it into overtime possibly, and things could have been different. It just wasn't Lamar. I don't know what it is about Lamar. Like Lamar said, he's tired of this, the word he used. But I'm not going to put it on just Mark Andrews. I will say that if you have to put it on one person, like Jay mentioned, you have to put it on Mark Andrews. That fumble in the crucial moment and the drop 2-point conversion. Because after all that, even though Lamar threw threw an interception, fumble, they still had an opportunity to tie that game up. So, it's a total team effort. Everyone can put their finger on everything, but I think in the crucial time, it came down to Mark Andrews.
Yeah, K-Walk, real quick, I'm gonna just say this, Britt, because I was kind of on Mark Andrews early. Like I knew this question was coming. Is this been all over the media? And then I started thinking about Andrews, and I said, you know what? It's hard for me to blame the guy for losing that wouldn't get the credit if they had won. Like if they had won that game, no one was going to say Mark Andrews won the game for the Baltimore Ravens. And that's why I said, you know what? It's really hard for me to blame him for the loss, even though he made some critical mistakes, because he would not have been the guy that got the credit had they won. So that's kind of why I went the other way. But look, it's you could pick it. I mean, obviously, he was a big part of the reason why they did not win.
Yeah.
First of all, I got to give kudos to the Bills first. Josh Allen played smart. He didn't do great in the passing game either. I think he only had 127 yards. I think he was 16 or 22, something like that, with 1 touchdown. So he played smart, basically. He didn't play like these highlight type of throws or anything like that. And that's all you need to do to win football games. I think we've seen that from Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Like, just play smart, don't turn the ball over. You most likely you can win. You can win the football game. But for me, who's that for? I'm gonna just put on the whole offense. I'm not gonna pick one or two players. Those turnovers were very crucial in those moments. That missed catch, it was right there in your hand. And I know it's the conditions was crazy. It was snowing out there. But that catch reminded me of the AJ Brown drop in the game just prior to that. So, but that was just more of a crucial moment. So you gotta lock in. You gotta understand it's icy. These conditions is it's crazy. I have to do everything I can to hold on to this football. So I'm gonna just put it on the entire offense because I don't think Lamar played his best in the first half. I think he played fantastic in that second half.
Absolutely.
But you got to show up over the course of the game. So that's who I think is at fault, just the entire offense. But I think they'll bounce back. I believe Henry is there for at least, I think he's there next year. And they're going to have a lot of the same players. So, but we'll see what happens. The Bills, any thoughts on Josh Allen and the Bills? Anybody?
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this Bills team going against a Chiefs team, and I'm gonna leave all the the conspiracy theorists and everything out of it. But just going football team. I don't think they have the defense to get it done. To be honest with you, I think Josh Allen is going to have to play a lot of superhero ball, if you will, Superman ball, if you will, especially against Spagnola's defense. They have a decent running game and Cooks and Day as well. And even with Josh Allen running the ball, I think they can run the ball for the most part. They don't really have any receivers who scare you. I mean, yeah, they have Shakir, Keon Coleman will show up. Keon Coleman will show up here and there. You forget about that Amari Cooper is there. Yeah, I keep forgetting about him when as well. They got two tight ends and Kincaid and Knox as well. So the offense, I think they'll be in the game. I just don't trust the defense of the Bills right now in this game. So Superman is going to have to put his cape on. He's going to have to come out there and lead this team. And it's going to have to be all Josh Allen to be perfect. I'm talking about 70 yards rushing, 300 yards passing. That's the type of game that he has to have if they have any chance of coming out of Arrowhead with a victory.
Well, since K-Walk, you kind of started, let's just jump right into our predictions and thoughts on the game. So no, you're fine because you led us right into it, which is timing. We got to get into it. So AFC, we know it's going to be the Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs have home field advantage. I think they are Sunday at 6, so they're the night game. K-Walk, you gave your thoughts on the game. So I'm assuming you're thinking, if you want to give us a prediction of the actual game itself, that the Chiefs will win. But I want to assume.
Yeah, no, you're right. I appreciate that. But I'm going to say, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think you just got to go with it. Just put everything that's been going down the way they've been playing. They've been finding ways to win. I just think that as everything that I mentioned, so I'm not going to sound redundant here, but I'm going to say the Chiefs 28, the Bills 20, 28-20 Bills. I mean, Chiefs, excuse me.
Okay, so somewhat one score game basically.
Yeah.
Jay, what are your thoughts on Josh Allen and the Bills doing what they can to beat the Chiefs, and just give your overall thoughts of the game and prediction?
Yeah, Britt, I think it's going to be tough because I think for as much as people talk about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and that Chiefs offense, I think sometimes people forget the Chiefs have a pretty good defense, and that the way that defense is coordinated, they're not going to sit back and sort of let you dictate the game. They're going to come after you. They're going to bring pressure. They're going to get in your face. So the Chiefs defense is going to make it difficult for the Bills. K-Walk just alluded to you, they don't have any, Buffalo doesn't have any receivers that really scare you. And I think Kansas City is going to be able to take advantage of that with a lot of different pressure type packages. And, you know, for all the things we talked about, we have a storyline. We have a team that's going for a three-peat. We got Mahomes. We got Kelsey, who's on the verge of breaking Jerry Rice's records, like for playoff touchdowns and catches and yards and all these kinds of things. And it just feels like right now the story is too perfect for it to come to an end. Plus the games in Kansas City. And I just don't think they're going to lose there, Britt. So I think we get a good football game, but I like KC. I'm going to say 31-27, 31-27 KC.
Wow. So you left out Swift and Clark as well.
Yeah, Swift. Yeah, Swift and Clark. You ain't losing. You ain't losing.
I guess for that game, we left out Jason Kelsey too for that game. Right. But nobody's going with the Bills. Nobody's giving the Bills the chance. It seems like everything is in the Chiefs' favor, right? But you know what? I'm gonna go out on a wing here. I don't know if I'm gonna do this if I had money. I'm not sure if I would go this way, but I don't have money on the game, so I'm gonna go with the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I think their defense has really stepped up as of late. I wasn't too sure about their defense at the beginning of the playoffs. I really weren't, because they were allowing some points there, and the offense had to outscore them. But lately, they've really been settling in, playing very hard. Ed Oliver, Von Miller have been really showing up and showing why they're the stars that they are. I like some of the calls that they've been making on the defensive side of the ball as well. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I mean, Josh Allen has been playing very good football this year, and it has continued up until this point. I'm going to give him some credit. I know they're young. Keon Coleman, like you said, K-Walk, he's young, but he has been showing up when it need be. And hopefully the conditions, I know they're going to be in Kansas City, so you do not know what the conditions will be. That is just like the Northeast. It might snow, it might be sunny, but it's going to be cold. We know it's going to be cold. Buffalo should
be asking. Yeah, Buffalo should be asking for that.
Right. Buffalo should be used to it. So I know it may have been a little bit different, maybe for receiver. Why is his name not coming to me? Not Keon Coleman, the other one, the vet.
Amari Cooper.
Whew. Might be different for him, but I think if they get Amari Cooper in the game early, I think he can really do something against this defense. I really do, because I think he is a good receiver. Remember, at one point he was one of the better route runners in the league. So I still think they have some ability. I like Cook over there. I think he's a good running back. So we'll see. As long as, again, Josh Allen doesn't do too much. He thought about it the last game, where he got sacked, or I don't know, he may have gotten a yard, but he looked like he was getting ready to pitch it, but he decided, you know what, let me smart. So just continue to play smart football. Hopefully your defense will give you an opportunity. It's not going to be an easy team to go up against. So I'm going to give the Bills an opportunity. I'm going to say the Bills are going to win 27-25. I think it's going to be a similar score. And the Bills better hope they get the ball last. If the Chiefs get the ball last, the Bills are going to lose. I'm telling you this now. They've seen that story before.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So the next game, NFC Championship, the Washington Commanders are at the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me your overall thoughts and predictions on this score. K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, Brett, I'm a conspiracy theorist. If you guys didn't know that, if you haven't figured it out by now, I just think that we just looking at that they want the big names in the Super Bowl this year. They want the Chiefs and they want the Eagles in the game. I think the Commanders are a Cinderella story, and I think we're at the point right now. I think what time do they play? Whatever time that game ends is the time that
3 o'clock.
Yeah, so whatever time that game ends is the time they turn into pumpkins, and you know their Cinderella dance is going to end soon. I mean, it's a great story. You have the Commanders who haven't won a Super Bowl. I mean, excuse me, a playoff game in 33 years. I think, Jay, that might have been the last time. Yeah, I think that you and I were together on a recruiting trip in Maryland.
Yeah,
and your brother. Yeah. So, Yeah, so I think it's a great story there. You got Jaden Daniels, who's a an up and coming star rookie, leading his team to a NFC championship. But I just think that when you look the way that the Eagles have been playing all year long, I just don't see how it's going to end here. I mean, I think the Commanders are a very scary team to play on the offense with Jaden Daniels, with the Brian Robinson Jr.'s, with the Scary Terry. You mentioned Ertz earlier, Britt. I think he still has something left in the tank. He's playing against his old team, so he's going to come out there with some extra added motivation as well. The defense and Wagner, those guys they understand what they have to do. They have to stop the run first and foremost. You have to stop that. Now, whether they can execute it or not, I don't know. I think they have the ability to do it, but I just think that the Philadelphia Eagles are just destined to win, in my opinion. As much as it pains me to say that, ladies and gentlemen, as a Philadelphia non-liker, it pains me to say that I think they're destined to win. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not going to be a runaway. I think it'll be a similar game to last week against the Rams. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles 26-22. 26-22.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles.
K-Walk's trying to sound real nice. He doesn't believe anything.
I don't like it. I don't know. I believe it. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't believe it. I just told you. I don't like to say it, but I have to say it.
He's trying to do the reverse psychology.
Whatever it takes, Brett. Whatever it takes. I don't like the cold, but Brett, I have to admit it's cold.
Right now. But Jay, what's your thoughts on this game, and give me your prediction?
Look, there's a lot to like about this Commanders football team. I mean, there really is. They're well coached. They play hard. They have a quarterback that is a playmaker, right? And that's what you want in these kind of situations. Someone that when everything goes wrong, you got a guy that can sort of pull you out of any situation and make a play. Right. And that's exactly what Jaden Daniels can do. But as I said before, like I just like the way that the Eagles are built. Great up front on both sides of the ball. Jalen Hurts, those two receivers. And then you have a guy that can just change the lights on the scoreboard at any second in Saquon Barkley. Like, I mean, he is a true home run hitter. Every time he touches the ball, he could take that thing 60 or 70. So I just think when you look at the rosters and you start man for man, Philly has a much better roster. And I just, I know football is different now, but I just still believe the game is won at the line of scrimmage. And I think the Eagles have a decided advantage at the line of scrimmage. I think the Eagles win, Britt, and I don't even think it's going to be that close. Like I like the Eagles 31-17, something like that. I think it's a big win for Philly, and they're off to the Super Bowl.
That will save my daggone me having to get medication for anxiety and heart attacks and headaches and overall just whatever stress. Heartburn, whatever else I could add to it. But it's a division game. Let's be real. I know this is the NFC Championship. It's a division game. The Eagles, in the history of, I don't care how much weaker the Washington Commanders have been over the course of these last so many years, we struggle against this team for whatever reason. Doesn't matter how much better we are, how much more talent that we have, we tend to struggle against the Commanders. I know we did well in that first game for the most part. I think the second game, we was almost blowing them out until Jalen. Ooh, these names are too closely tied together. Jalen got hurt, I think, in that first quarter, I believe. And then CJ Gardner-Johnson got kicked out. And that's when Jaden Daniels said, it's my time now. I'm coming back and won. And that's exactly what they did. I've known both teams have grown since then. The defense for the Philadelphia Eagles have definitely grown since then. And we've seen that last week. When they were able to finally get a stop to prevent the Rams from winning. But I think this is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. I do think that Jalen Hurts has the ability to resemble what we saw in some of his better games with throwing the football, and he might have to really throw the football this game. We'll see how injured he is. Hopefully it's not too bad. They did say for sure he is definitely playing. But I'm with Jay on this one. You can always fall back on Saquon Barkley, even if they have 8, 9 stacked in the box. I don't know if they stack 9 in the box, but at least 8 stacked in the box, and they somehow hit a home run with them. But for the Philadelphia Eagles, you cannot take this team lightly. You cannot take this team lightly. And we always say these teams know each other very well. They played each other twice already. This is the third time. So you got to go in really focused. And Kellen Moore, I am begging you, draw up some better play calls. Stop with these long developing routes. You're going to have to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands a little bit quicker. And Jalen's going to have to say, you know what, I got to get this ball out of my hand a little bit quicker, especially if he's not going to be able to be as mobile as he normally is. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going to say 28-24 Philadelphia Eagles.
Britt, that's a good point too about Hurts' injury, because we really don't know how he is. Like, we know he finished the game. He definitely looked like he was hampered. I think that's one of the reasons too why he ended up taking that safety in the end zone. I just don't think he could really move the way that he wanted to get out of the pocket and maybe throw the ball away. If he is hampered and can't really be himself, that could make this thing more interesting. But I still think Philly wins, but I do think that's something that people need to watch, because if he's not fully healthy and he can't be himself, that could limit that offense some.
And I got one thing to say. A.J. Brown, you had 2 or 3 drop passes last week. I'm cool with you reading the book. That's what you do every week. I'm not mad at it. I'm not one of the ones that's mad at you reading the book. But you're going to keep calling out the offense, not necessarily Jalen, but the whole offense in the passing game. You can't drop passes, sir.
Yeah.
You can't drop passes. But I know the talent that you are, so just make sure you show up this game, because we're going to need you this game. So I'm definitely calling A.J. Brown out, and I might highlight this so he can see it. A.J. Brown, I'm calling you out. Show up and show out, or I'm going to talk crap about you next week. Not too bad, because you're still my guy. You're still my guy. Not too bad, right? I got your high school's jersey, so you're still my guy. But any final thoughts on the NFC, AFC championships?
No, I do hope we get some decent weather conditions, though. I don't think I want to see any snow games this weekend. So I just want to see it where, we don't have to worry about that.
You said the word. I'm tired of the snow already. Yeah, I'm right here. It's been cold. I think we had like 10 degrees today. It's freezing out here. So,
yep.
But it is what it is when you're on the Northeast. All right, last thing. Actually, 2 more things, and then I'll throw it back to Jay.
I might throw it right back at you, Britt. I'm just joking.
I've been trying to get this thing in for weeks, and they are getting ready to announce the winners. But I just want to get your thoughts real quick on who do you think. And I know this is normally a regular season award, but we're just going to include this playoff game just for the heck of it, between the Ravens and the Bills. And odds are the MVP is probably going to be between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. Who do you think is the NFL MVP for this season? K-Walk, I'm going to come to you first.
Well, there's a reason why they wait until this time of the year, right before the conference championships. They say it's a regular season award. I don't believe in that. I think it's up to this point award. And so I'm going to say, with that being said, I'm a Lamar Demetrius Jackson fan. So the MVP is going to go to, I think, Josh Allen, because he's gotten his team to the AFC Championship, and I think that's what ultimately it comes down to. Who goes further in this. So I'm going to go Josh Allen gets the MVP here.
Okay, well, real quick, do you think it's just that, or do you think people are looking at it as far as they feel like Josh Allen has less talent on his team versus Lamar Jackson with Derrick Henry and all those guys?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they're going to look at that. I mean, you can look at. I think the MVP award, the way they describe it, is a team that's the player that's most valuable to their team.
Right.
So that in that case, it definitely Josh Allen is deserving of it, because as I mentioned earlier, they don't have any big time receivers over there, and he's doing a lot with a little. So yeah, I definitely agree with that assessment there, Britt.
Jay, what are your thoughts on this MVP?
I don't disagree with K-Walk, and I think his reasons are correct, and I do think Josh Allen probably will win the MVP. But if it was me personally, if you're asking me, I think I still would go with Lamar Jackson, even after them losing over this weekend, just because number one, when you compare their numbers, like Lamar's numbers are better in every single category. And I know people say, well, Josh Allen sat out a couple of games. Well, okay, we'll play. Like, don't miss those games. Like, what do you want me? Right. That's not Lamar's fault, So I just think had Lamar not won the other two, I'm not even sure it would be a discussion about who the MVP was. But we see it in the NBA too. Like, they just get fatigue of giving the same guy the award year after year after year. And that's not to say that Josh Allen hasn't been fantastic and doesn't deserve to be in the conversation. But I just think Lamar overall has had the better year, and I think he's the MVP. And I think if you're going to talk Josh Allen, then I think you have to talk Saquon Barkley as well, because no one has been more important to their football team than Saquon has been for the Eagles. So I think if you're going to put Josh in the conversation, Saquon should be too. But if I was choosing Britt, I'm still going to give it to Lamar, even after the couple of turnovers and the loss.
Okay, so let's say, I think for me, I will probably give it to Lamar as well. I think he's just had an incredible year, and I understand he's had Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is a force. That's something defense definitely has to worry about, but Lamar has upped his game even from his MVP years, in my opinion. So odds are that potentially leaves one of the quarterbacks in Saquon Barkley for Offensive Player of the Year. Who do you give the Offensive Player of the Year award to? Anybody can take this.
Can I just say something about Derrick Henry real quick, Britt, that I'll answer it? I think as good as Derrick Henry has been, like, I think Lamar helps that, right? Because when they're running that read option and you have to worry about Lamar pulling the ball and running, that makes it easier for Derrick Henry to run the football. So I think they've helped each other in that way. But as far as the Offensive Player of the Year, Britt, I think you got to give it to Saquon. I mean, I just don't know how you don't give Saquon the Offensive Player of the Year award. I know there's other guys. I know Josh Allen could be there, but Saquon has just been absolutely electric. And I don't think the Eagles are where they are if they don't get Saquon on their roster. So for me, it's Saquon all day long.
Okay, well, is it the other quarterback or Saquon?
No, it's definitely Saquon. I think you give it to Saquon. I think it should be unanimous in this decision and in this thinking. And when you come down to the voting, there's if you're not going to give, there's going to be 1-2, Lamar or Josh or Lamar, however you want to look at it. But as far as the offensive standpoint, it's Saquon. Look what he's done. I mean, he had an opportunity to beat to break the rushing record, which I would have put an asterisk by, for one, because it was one more game than ED had, and two, I still think that the more impressive record is OJ rushing over 2,000 yards in 13
That's
games.
what I was going to ask you. Do you have an asterisk next to the EDs as well?
Yeah, exactly. You can put can put an asterisk as next to EDs as well. But story for another day, or topic for another day. But yeah, I think it's unanimously should go to Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I started to look at that. I was like, what is up with this extra game thing? So I look at it differently. I look at the carries, how many carries they had, and I think ED would have had way more carries over Saquon. I think he had 3. I can't even remember the exact number. And Saquon, I think he could have still had 20 less carries if he decided to break that record. But I'm with you. I think the most impressive was probably OJ in his heyday. Woo! That was he was nice. He was nice. And then last question I have for you guys. We talked about it a little bit earlier with the Detroit Lions. Their offensive coordinators, since I just found out Aaron Glenn is going to the Jets now. But let's start off with Ben Johnson. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson has been officially hired, or he has officially accepted, I should say, the head coach job for the Chicago Bears. How do you think this will benefit quarterback Caleb Williams? Okay, welcome. I'm coming to you first.
We don't know. We've seen this movie so many times. This is turning into literally a franchise. I mean, franchise from a movie standpoint, franchise from NFL standpoint. That it's just the same thing. You bring in a quarterback, you draft him number 1, or you draft him top 5, and then immediately after you do that, at least 2 or 3 seasons later, you're coming in with another coach. And what continues to happen? You'll see that that they want to get rid of that guy because he's not their guy. So Ben Johnson is supposedly, he's an offensive guy. He's going to bring him, he's going to bring his knowledge. I've never heard of the term used for Ben Johnson, and I could be wrong in saying this, that he's not a quarterback whisperer. I've never heard that term used when we're talking about him. So I don't know how much he can do for Caleb Williams, other than the fact of the matter is get him in immediately and teach him his scheme. Get him to learn what the the ins and outs, the intricacies of the offense are. Get DJ Moore, whatever receivers that are in there now, they're going to be there next year. Get them in there, as quickly as possible. And I don't know if Commit is still there, the tight end there, if he's going to be there next year. But get them the guys in there immediately, get them in the playbook, and get them to know, what, teach them exactly what he's looking for this offense to be. Run some film back, obviously, with the Lions and, their successes that they had there. I don't know how much it's going to make a difference with this organization, but I think that's the path you have to take, with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams.
Jay, with the so-called the innovative, they say Ben Johnson is very innovative when it comes to his offensive plays, and his offensive play calling is very incredible, and he kind of understands how to tailor it to that particular quarterback or that team. Could he make things a little bit more simpler with his play call or his playbook, and maybe cut the field in half as much as possible for Caleb Williams to hopefully read defenses a little bit quicker or better, I should say. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question, Britt. I definitely think it's going to help from the standpoint of maybe just having a better offensive system. I think he's going to bring some uniformity, some consistency to the offense, because there were times when you watch the Bears this year where you're just you don't know what exactly they're trying to get done. It just almost seemed like they were drawing up plays in the dirt at times. So I think at worst case, he's going to bring a system. And I think just that alone will make things better for Caleb Williams. And then at best case, if he can work with him, from a quarterback coaching standpoint, then maybe this is exactly what Caleb Williams needs. But, it's hard, Britt, because, how many times have we seen people hire a head coach and you think it's going to be great, right, and then 2 years later you come to find out that they're just not what you thought they were. So I don't know if this guy's a good head coach or not. I guess we'll find out. But I think offensively, at least he'll be able to provide a system.
Yeah, I mean, you made a very valid point. Some people are just better coordinators than they are better as head coaches, and we have seen that time and time again. Fangio, Frazier, maybe Robert. I would give Robert Salah another chance. I don't think he got a real fair shot, to be honest with you.
No, we need him back. We need him back,
right? But we'll see. I heard he's been hiring or interviewing for other head coaches, along with your defensive coordinator position over with San Fran. But that's going to definitely be interesting as well. So I think you couldn't do any worse than what they had, right? I think this is already an improvement in my mind. And you need to get someone in here to really help with this offensive side. I still think they have some good talent on the defense. I think you could probably find a decent defensive coordinator. But somebody has to help Caleb Williams. My understanding, he plans on hiring an all-star type of staff. So with some good coordinators and good coaching staff to really help Caleb Williams. It's basketball. Caleb Williams come along and hopefully help with his development, which I think is important, because we have seen flashes. We've seen flashes when it looks like he understands what's going on. Then we're able to see the Caleb Williams that resembled a little bit what we've seen in college. But if he gets lost, my goodness, that's where he struggles the most. So hopefully Ben Johnson will help him there. And I'm curious to see what they do this year, because I know, like K-Walk said, this has been an ongoing thing for many, many years when it comes to the Chicago Bears. My goodness, why do I keep switching with the Chicago Bears? And I'm just trying to see if this is finally it. Is this the moment where we say they got something? But we'll see. All right, guys. You guys want to hit the break, or just Jay, you want to just take over?
I'm good to take over if you want, or yeah, we don't need a break. We could just keep this thing rolling.
All right, let's keep it rolling. We'll throw it back over to you, Jay.
All right, cool. Let me this is something I saw like a little bit on a couple of the national media shows, and I just wanted to see like sort of what you guys think about it, because obviously we know the playoff games this weekend, we had some difficult conditions. I mean, the snow, we saw a lot of balls on the ground, fumbles, different things like that, guys not holding on to the football. And in games, it definitely affected the outcome of the game. I'm not saying the other team would have won, but I certainly think it affected the way that the game was played. So I saw some people arguing that these games, like every team should have a dome, or that these playoff games should be played in better conditions so that we can see like who the better team is without the elements. Okay, Walk, you got any thoughts on that? Should the NFL consider like getting these games in nice weather places so we can just have a football game, or do you like the elements being a part of it?
I think we had this conversation sometime back, a while back. You, Britt, and myself. The thing, I don't think you should switch it up wherever, whoever has the home court event or home field advantage. There, Britt, you got me going to basketball. Whoever has the home field advantage, I think you should play in those particular elements. My thing is, and what I've been lobbying for so long, is that you get these billion dollar stadiums, man, and each one is being brought. Some are domes, more, and some are just open, open stadiums. My thing is, I think that all fields should be retractable stadiums. Where if it's nice, you open up the roof. Yeah. If it's bad elements, man, you close it, whether it be rain, whether it be snow, because not only for the players, I mean, you can talk about the player safety and things of that nature, but I'm talking about if you're going to a team, you're a fan like myself. Say I'm a 49ers fan, and the closest game is to here is New York, and they don't play till December, and it's 20 below, it's snowing. I spend all this money to go out there. I want to be in comfortable elements, man. I want to be in a comfortable environment. So close the roof and let them play, man. That's what I've been lobbying for a long time. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but my thing is, if they're not going to go that route, if they're not going to go all retractable roofs, then just keep it as is. If you have home field advantage, then whatever elements you play in, then the opposing team has to play in those elements as well. Because it's not an advantage, in my opinion, if you play in the snow and one team comes from from the south and another team comes up north, northeast, or whatever. You all got to play in it, and they always say, well, they don't play in it. They're used to playing in domes, or they're used to playing in warm weather, but not everyone plays in bad weather all year round. No one really plays in bad weather until it gets to be bad weather season time. So, so I think just keep it. If you're not going to do retractable rules, just keep it as is. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. The only thing I will say about that, okay, Walk, and tell me what you think about this before I go to Britt, because I do think, like, for example, like the Miami Dolphins, like if I'm Buffalo and I've earned home field advantage and I got Miami coming, like I don't want to close that roof. I want them playing in the elements, in the snow. Okay. Like Miami's record, like when it's under 40 degrees is like not good. So my I guess my question is, because you say they're both playing in it, but similar to me being down here in Georgia now, right? And when I go into a cold environment, it hits me differently than it used to. I'm just wondering, do you think those guys in Miami, like when they got to come to Buffalo, I think that they would feel it more than the guys that are living in it every single day. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, Jay, because I get what you're saying there, Jay. And I think maybe you can give the team the option to say, listen, you got the your home field advantage. You can open the roof. It's going to snow. You can open the roof and have these guys playing elements that they're not used to. Now, I can see what you're saying as far. I don't know if you mean by snow or by the temperature. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean all of it. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to risk your guys, because the same thing can happen. You can be careful what you ask for, Jay. You know what I mean? But I get it. But maybe they can give them the option. Say, listen, you guys have the home field advantage here. It's going to be 20 degrees, winds, whatever it is, snow on the ground. You can open the roof or you can close the roof. It's up to you. But understand that, you guys going to be playing in it too.
Yeah. Britt, what say you about all this?
I just want to counter because we're talking about a lot about the snow, but we can't sit and act like the heat don't impact us neither.
Yeah.
In Florida, that Caribbean hot, super hot heat, you start sweating, you're overheating, your body starts to cramp up. That heat is about as bad as the snow. It's just that the ball might not be slipping out your hands because the ball is wet or whatever.
Right.
I think I don't know. I like elements. I do. Now, mind you, I don't mind a retractable roof. So I am with K-Walk. I think all teams should have retractable roof and allow each team to make the decision. But I might be maybe just a young person thinking a little bit more old school type of way. It's like football was meant to play outside in any element that it presents to you. So except for the summer hot heat, that's why it starts in the fall for the most part. Go out, have some fun, get them jerseys dirtied up, get some snow on there. So I love I'm sitting back. If I'm not in the suite at the game, I'm a bougie sports person. I don't care. I'm sitting at home in my nice warm air watching my TV, watching the game so I can hear the commentary and all that stuff. But I've been to enough games, dry, cold, whatever. But as a player, go out there, have some fun, enjoy it. Now, granted, the Eagles said they didn't like it. I'm be honest. Players is like, I did not like playing in the snow, but we got the job done. So, but me, I'm extra old school. Go out there, play football how football is supposed to be played.
Hey Jay, and just keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm a former receiver. I haven't played football since high school. I've been playing catch. Ever since I left high school, I've been playing catch as a receiver. I never played football once I left high school. So that's why I need those nice elements. I need that heat, Britt. I'll take 100 degrees over 20 degrees any day of the week. I need the ground dry. I need the wind calm because I'm a receiver and I need all the elements perfectly so I can, go up there and get that ball.
Yeah. And to your point, K-Walk, even when I was in state college and it would be awful, like toward the end of the season, I did not like that. Like, I mean, I don't think we had any advantage at all out there in that cold. Man, I hated playing those cold games, man. So I think unless you got a team coming from the South, I don't know that it really matters.
I don't think it's really a big advantage in my opinion. We seen that with the Rams and Eagles. Both teams were dropping balls they probably should have caught. But I don't have no complaints because I'm sitting at home. So I like watching it on TV with all the elements.
Yeah. And K-Walk, I do get your point about the fan experience. Like if you're going to the game, like I don't want to be sitting out in 10-degree weather and snow. Like I want to be able to enjoy the game. So I definitely understand the retractable thing from the fan perspective for sure.
Can I make this last thought? I think there's only one stadium that needs to be changed, and that's that Dallas stadium. Because
with
that's
the whole.
Yeah, with the sun, and clearly it blinds your own team. So if you have the ability to retract, and they had the ability to retract the roof because it impacts your own team. So that's, to me, that just wasn't smart by Jerry Jones. But
they say the reason why they did leave it open, Britt, is because they think God is shining down, looking down on their on his Dallas Cowboys. That's the reason why they keep it open all the time. Their words, not mine.
Looking for a long time.
But they don't realize that God rests on Sundays. They don't realize.
It ain't God.
They ain't looking at football. I tell you that much.
He's like, he don't care about no football.
He don't. I learned that a long time ago, Brett. God don't care anything about football, bro.
Oh man. All right, I asked y'all this last week. I gotta ask it again. All right, we got 4 teams left, which means we got 4 starting quarterbacks left. Out of these 4 QBs left, K-Walk, once again, which one do you have the most confidence in? Which one do you have the least amount of confidence in?
All right, I gotta continue to throw this conspiracy theorist out. I try to get it out of me, but it's hard, when you
just as a player, a playmaker, none of the officials and all that stuff.
All right, Jay, it's easier said than done. All right, so this is going to sound crazy. But I'm got the most confidence I have in the quarterback. I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels, man. I'm going to go with that young man because all of the tools that he has the arm, he has the the leadership, he has the poise, and obviously he can run as well. I like him. I know he's a rookie, and it's hard to give that to him, especially with a 2-time or 3-time winning quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and then you got Jalen Hurts, who also has a Super Bowl appearance under his belt as well. Josh Allen is coming into his own. He's gotten farther than he's had in his career up to this point. So I am going to get this slide because I think you kind of you mentioned it that he doesn't really know what's going on right now. Yeah, I think you kind of alluded to that. They're playing with house money. So with that being said, I'm going to give it to Jaden Daniels. The least, sorry, Brett, I just don't have the confidence in Jalen Hurts because of the fact of the matter is I think they rely so much on Saquon Barkley. We've seen in the last few weeks that Jalen Hurts has had trouble getting rid of the ball. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what it is, but he hasn't looked like the quarterback that if you take the running game or if you take Saquon Barkley out of the equation, that can lead that team to a Super Bowl championship, regardless of the fact that he has great receivers in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and even Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert and even Dotson, who has come on sparingly since that trade earlier in the season. But I'm going to say Jalen Hurts. I just don't. He's the least out of the four. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm just saying out of the remaining quarterbacks, he's the least confident, the one that I had the least confidence in.
Yeah, at least it's tough in this group because you got 4 guys here that have all done very well for their team. So that I get it. That's a tough call to make, K-Walk. But Britt, what say you? Most confident, least confident with the 4 guys left?
I'll start with least confident. I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. I think. I just think as talented as he is, and he is very talented, when he comes up against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, it just doesn't go well for him for whatever reason. I'm hoping this is his year. It has nothing to do with talent in my mind. I just think it's more competition versus anything, or opposition versus anything. I am hoping this is his year. I am rooting for Josh Allen and the Bills this week. But I'm just not certain for sure. And will he continue to make the smart plays that he did the last so many games? When you go up against a team like the Chiefs, you kind of want to do too much at times because of your history going against them. You feel like you have to, like K-Walk alluded to earlier, play that superhero ball even when you don't have to. So my confidence in him is just wavering only because who the opponent is. The most confidence, I guess I'm gonna go with K-Walk with the daggone conspiracy theory, although I don't want to. I guess it's gonna have to be Patrick Mahomes. He got Russ by his side. He got Jay said it earlier. He got the NFL story, the 3-peat. People want him to get to the Super Bowl again. So he seems to be like the NFL, what they call him, the NFL Super Boy or whatever they used to call it. I forgot what they call it. Favorite man or
golden child.
Golden child.
Golden child for some odd reason. So it just seems like everything is favorite for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'm gonna have to go with Patrick Mahomes. And then my least confident right now has, again, nothing to do with talent. I think all these quarterbacks have talent in their own way. I just think it's opposition would be Josh Allen.
Yeah, actually, I think I agree with you, Britt. Like, I get why K-Walk went Jalen Hurts, because I was thinking I was going to go there as well. And again, nothing against Hurts, because Britt, you pointed out earlier, he did have that touchdown run. He did make some throws that guys dropped the football on him. So even though like his numbers may not have been great passing the football on Saturday, I do think drops and penalties sort of skewed that a little bit. But I think you're on to something, Britt, when you said because of the matchup. I talked earlier about the Chiefs defense and the type of pressure that they were going to bring. I think that alone probably makes me the least confident in Josh Allen, just because I think he's going to have a lot more to deal with. So I'm going to go Josh Allen as my least confident. And then it's just so hard to pick against Mahomes. Like, even though like this year, I don't think he's been maybe what he's been in the past. It's just like you just kind of feel like when the rubber meets the road and a play needs to be made, he's going to make it. So I'm going to go with Mahomes as my most confident as well. All right, last one. Then we're going to shift gears here, but we got 4 coaches left as well. We got Andy Reid against Sean McDermott, and then we got Nick Sirianni against Dan Quinn. Same question, but about the coaches, K-Walk. Because like at some point in this game, somebody's going to decide to go for it, or somebody's going to go for 2, or somebody's going to make some kind of coaching decision that affects the game. So same question. Which coach are you the most confident in? Which coach are you the least confident in?
That's hard.
Yeah, that is hard.
Facts,
especially least confident.
I'm glad you're going first.
Thanks, Brett. Most confidence, I think I'm going to go with the guy who's been there, has done it so many different times. And even with not just the team that he's currently on, but in the past, and there's a reason why he's up there in most wins, and that's Andy Reid. I think you have to go with him because some of these playmakers, his plays that you see dialed up, even though it looks like, I think you mentioned it earlier, Jay, when I was off cameras, kind of dialed up in the sand, if you will, and just his ability to have that quarterback that you guys deem to be the most, one you have the most confidence. So I'm going to go with him, Andy Reid, as the one I have the most confidence in. And these guys are going to hate me, man. These Eagle fans are already going to hate me, man. They already hate me, but it just seems like I'm piling on, and I'm not piling on by any stretch of the imagination, at least not intentionally, ladies and gentlemen. But Sirianni, we've seen his stories before. He's been getting out of it, but you look at him, even in this past game on Sunday, you can hear the fans in the stands, and this isn't done me. You go back if you missed it, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the play calling or some of the decision making, it left one to be desired, if you will, because last year we were talking about, I think maybe beginning of this year, they were calling for his job as well. So right now, with that being said, I think he's just one coaching move away from costing these guys a game. So I don't have any confidence in Nick Sirianni. It's not even the least. I have zero confidence in Nick Sirianni when it comes. So I'm sorry, guys, but that is out of these 4 too. Yeah, it's
Eagles fans are going to be coming for you, K.
They already know. They already coming at me, Jay. They can't wait. If they get to the Super Bowl, they gonna be blowing me up. Jay.
We don't worry about people that we know don't like us for whatever reason. We don't care. It ain't.
So K-Walk, I'm with you on Andy Reid. I just think he's been there. He's done that. There's probably nothing he hasn't seen. He's going to be ready for every situation that could possibly happen. So I'm going to go Andy Reid as my most confident. My least confident, I understand where you're going with Sirianni, because for me too, like I feel like he can be I would just like him to be a little bit more composed at times. Like sometimes I think he can be a bit of a hothead, and I don't love that for my head coach. But because of the situation, I already told you guys, I think the Eagles are going to win comfortably. I don't necessarily think he's going to be in a position where he's got to make a critical decision that's going to affect the game. So for that reason, I'm going to the other side. I'm going Dan Quinn. I mean, this is the coach that was up 28-3 at the half, right, against the Patriots and blew that lead. And I just think if they get behind early, maybe it forces Quinn to make some decisions that he doesn't necessarily want to make, but he thinks he's got to keep the Commanders in the football game. So I'm going to go Dan Quinn because of the circumstances of playing a football team that I think is decidedly better than the Commanders are. But Britt, what say you about this?
I think y'all both are tripping. Look, I'm all about grace, and I've been Nick Sirianni's hardest critic on here. But what he has done the last since the bye week, since week 5, something like that, has did nothing but make the right calls this entire time. Has been level-headed. He hasn't gotten out of hand like he did his emotions. Hasn't gotten to him. He's been holding his composure very well for the most part. I mean, outside a little tidbit where he was trying to get to Jalen Carter, and who cares about that? And then Dan Quinn, I like what he's done with the Commanders as well. I think he's been doing pretty good with them. But let me start with my most confident, Andy Reid, of course. Like, and it may always be in my heart because I've always loved Andy Reid. I'm tired of him winning. I'm not gonna lie. When somebody else to win, I'm not gonna lie. But I love Andy Reid, and he's an incredible coach. He's a fantastic head coach, future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. I can't even question him whatsoever. But me, you got to go with Sean McDermott again. Opposition. It's all about opposition, in my opinion. How long has Sean McDermott been the head coach of the Buffalo Bills? And all the times he made it to the playoffs and lost was majority to the Kansas City Chiefs. For some reason, this team cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, and this is when it matters the most. I don't care what you did in the regular season. It doesn't matter to me what you did in regular season. Show up in the playoffs, and you lost to them when they didn't have this defense at one point in time. So to me, it's going to be Sean McDermott. Will he make the right decisions? Will he make the right calls in this situation? How is he going to coach Josh Allen and these guys coming up on Sunday? So to me, it's going to be Sean McDermott.
Yeah, that's a good call, Britt. That's a good call. Hopefully we get some good games, good matchups. So hopefully we'll get another round at entertaining games. All right, let's leave the football talk there. I know we don't have a ton of time left, but I do just want to explore this for a few minutes because we've talked about it off air, like through text and stuff like that. But it's just something I've been thinking about as football season is winding down, and it's going to be time to force ourselves into basketball season. What is wrong with the NBA? That's my question. What's wrong with the NBA? I don't know if it's just me. I haven't had any interest. And this has come from somebody who loved the NBA. I mean, I loved the NBA, and I have maybe watched 5 games so far this year. I'm not interested. I don't know why. K-Walk, I'm gonna start with you. What's wrong with or is it just me? Or I don't know. Talk to me, K-Walk. What's wrong with the NBA?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, Jay. I just there's really nothing there for you to watch. You know, I watch my Heat. You know, when they're on every single day, I'm dialed into them, especially with the whole thing with with Jimmy Butler and what's going on there. I can't wait for them to get rid of him or trade him away. Watching the game here, right now they're down 10 to Portland, which they shouldn't be. Should be up 10, you know, at home. Yeah, Jay, it's just nothing there because when you see these players, you don't really see like those big name guys out there. But if you watch these games, there's a lot of there's a lot of blowouts. There's a lot of teams losing 40 by 40. I think Golden State just lost by 40 the other night.
Yeah.
And these teams are just getting blown out. So there's no competitiveness there. There's no parity for the most part there. And I think that's what is kind of turning a lot of people off. And, you know, even my Heat, you know, they get blown out. You know, they'll either blow someone out or they'll get blown out.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's not enough, you know, not enough competitiveness, you know, in the game right now, Jay. And I can't put my finger on why it is and why it's like the way it is. But fact of the matter is that's what it is. There's just no parity. There's no competitiveness there. And a lot of these games, and when they do get good, they are good. They're like, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night where, you know, people are getting ready to get up the next morning to go to work. So I think that, you know, some of that. And then you got to mix it in with everything's going on with college football. You kind of mentioned that earlier, Jay, you know, with the mixture of the college football and NFL, you know, going at one another as well. And then, of course, you know, then you had college basketball starting now. I know you're more into college football, women's baskall than anything else. So right now, no one really is going to watch it until the playoffs really start. I mean, no one watched that in season tournament or whatever the case may be. That's just my opinion on that. I mean, there's no competitiveness.
Yeah, and I think for me, like the few times I have tried to tune in, I don't like it because it all just looks the same. No matter what team you're playing, it all looks the same. High pick and roll, shoot the three. I turned it on one day, and no lie, they went down one end. Someone took a long three, miss. Came back the other way, long three, miss. Like it was like 5 possessions, and it was a 3 every time. And I was like, I'm not watching this. So I think they got to figure something out just to make the product look better for the viewer. So that's been my thing. It all looks the same. But Britt, what say you? What's going on with the NBA?
Now y'all know I have loved basketball since forever. That used to be my number one sport, the NBA, whatever. I just love basketball in general. I used to watch every single game that I could
Yeah,
watch.
right.
Every game I could watch on TV. But now I watch it. I'm gonna be straight. It's bad product. That is what it is. It's a bad product. It's horrible when I'm watching the game. I think it's way too much crying, way too much entitlement, and not enough competition.
Yeah.
That's just, to me, that's what it comes down to. I think the coaching is nowhere near as good as it once was. I mean, what are you coaching really? Like you said, Jay, it's a lot of high pick and rolls and 3-point shooting. You don't have to do much to coach that, right? There's no defense whatsoever. There should never be a game where one team has 140 points and the other has 85 to 90. A lot of these teams to play defense. I just think overall it's a bad product and fans are getting tired of it. They're getting a little bored with it. I mean, you're still gonna have the ratings be but so high, right? Especially as football is dwindling down. That's really all that's gonna be left. I know college basketball is ramping up, so they'll take away some of the viewership, but it just doesn't feel the same. And the daggone play tournament, not the playing tournament, the at the beginning of the year, the tournament at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I don't even remember what they call it. What do they call it now?
I called the in-season tournament. I thought they called it something else.
Yeah, in-season tournament. To me, that was a stretch. That you're trying too hard to get people to be interested, instead of just probably just need really a rule adjustment, and hold players to their contract, basically. To be honest with you, I'm all for players getting paid. I think you should get paid for exactly what you deserve. So the more the better. But let me see it on the court too. If you're getting paid and I don't see it on the court, then it's like, okay, what are we doing?
Yeah. Last thought on this, because as far back as I can remember, or at least for me, there's always been a must-watch guy. Like whether we're talking Jordan, like Jordan was playing, I was watching. I didn't care where I was. I don't care what was going on. I was going to find a way to watch Mike. Right. A lot of people felt the same way about Kobe and Shaq. Even LeBron, love him or hate him, when they were at their height, you were tuning in, whether you were hoping he was going to lose or you were wanting LeBron to win. You were tuning in. Even some of Pop's Spurs teams, that was good basketball. You wanted to watch. Is there a must-see star, K-Walk, in the NBA right now? Is there a guy that's saying, hey, it's on TNT tonight, it's appointment television? Is there a guy like that in the league right now?
No, Jay, unless you're betting on the guy, unless you're betting on the team, I don't see a guy like that. I just don't see, a game like that out there, a team like that. There just isn't. Like I just mentioned, I'm watching my Heat. I have them on, every time that, that they're playing. And Tyler Hero right now is the best player on that team. And no one, then you ask Britt and someone asks you or Britt, hey, Tyler Hero's playing tonight. I don't give a what. So I don't give a what. Yeah, exactly. So that's the only reason why I'm looking forward to it, is because he's on the team that I root for. But no, there's you can throw Ant-Man out there, you could throw Jokic out there, you could throw LeBron's name out there, KD, you could throw all these guys' names up there, but they're just not those guys that you'll go out of your way. And you can like, unlike it was, back in the day, Jay, where we had to tune into a TV, you can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your tablet, you can watch it anywhere you are, and catch these guys. But no one's doing that. So there's just no one out there that's has that for me.
Yeah. And I tried with Wemby. Like, he would be the one guy that I was like, I want to see what he's going to do. But then it's just frustrating because I'm like, they don't even give him the ball when they're supposed to. So even I've gotten away from that. But he was the one guy that I was hoping could be the guy that would bring me back, just because he just looks so different out there from everybody else. But Britt, what about you? Is there anyone in the league that is must-see TV for you?
No, it hasn't been since, like, you brought up some of the other guys, but Allen Iverson, Vince Carter.
Oh yeah, AI. Yeah.
Like we wanted to see all these guys. Ray Allen in his heyday when he was the star on his team. Like, we wanted to see these guys play. I mean, I watch these guys. Like, I I tried to do Ant-Man, you know, I was excited about Ant-Man, but I watched Ant-Man, I'm like, you the star. You're not even doing what you're supposed to as a star at times. So it's more frustrating than anything. And I'm all up for team basketball. That's what it's a team game, right? So everybody, but you know what the star's job. The star's job is to make the play on the defensive end, is to make the play on the offensive side. Like you needed to step up when you're supposed to step up. And these guys don't do that anymore. So it's just like I don't have the patience. And same thing with Wendy. I'm just like, it looks boring now. It just seems boring. So
Yeah, I hope they can figure out a way to get it fixed. Because, like we said, we all love basketball. We love the NBA, but it, as you said, Britt, it's just not a good product right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens going forward. All right, y'all. Good stuff. I think that's it for tonight. Before we get out of here, go Walk. Let the people know where to find you and if there's anything you're looking forward to.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Facebook, Kevin Walker, Instagram, Kevin.Walker142, X at Kevin Walker142. Tomorrow night, I know I said last week, ladies and gentlemen, we are up and running and we are going. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't make promises to my wife, but I'm making promises to you tonight. We are up and running. It's Sports Talk with K-Walk, E. Scott, Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. You can catch our links, the link on all of the social medias that I just provided to you. It's going to be a great one. Scary part about it, ladies and gentlemen, we have no time limit. We have no time limit, so we can go all night if we need to. If we want to. So that's scary for me. And if you guys know, me and E. Scott could go for a minute. But no, nonetheless, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to Saturday. My son Ty and I are in the building, Barclays Center. Got the Nets and the Heat. We're going to be in the building. So looking forward to that.
Nice.
Obviously looking forward to the conference championship games as well. Getting into some tennis too, ladies and gentlemen. And then of course, Kyle and a little bit of the Heat, and my Tar Heels are playing at 9:00. So So I'm looking forward to that, guys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. You guys can find me at Jason Talk Sports on all social media platforms at Jason Talk Sports. Yeah, welcome with you. The football on Sunday should be great, but Thursday night, South Carolina women's basketball against LSU. That's going to be a phenomenal basketball game. So Thursday night, that would definitely be one to tune into. I think South Carolina is ranked number 2 right now. LSU's ranked a little bit lower down, maybe 5 or 6, but LSU has not lost this year at all. So that's going to be a heavyweight fight, South Carolina, LSU Thursday night. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's it. Jason Talk Sports. Basketball and football. Britt, what you got for us?
You guys can find me at Brittany Monique. I'm on IG, X, and TikTok is officially back. So
it's back.
That
12-hour hiatus.
Game that the so-called new, whatever you want to call them, wants to play with everybody, but it's back. If you want to give them credit, then be my guest. I'm not. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going off the whole other tangent.
I'm with you.
That's where you can find me at Brittany Monique. But what I'm looking forward to, football, of course. I'm starting to get back into college basketball. I don't know about the NBA guys. I got to do it because we talk about it on the show, and that's what our focus is going to be. But I think I'm looking more forward to baseball and track and field starting up. The spring season is starting up right now than I am then. But I'm gonna get myself back into it. But that's what I'm most looking forward to. Oh, and guys, I didn't tell you this, but I had a video go viral. Actually, it wasn't my video. I'm in the video. It was like 3 million views on TikTok.
Where can we see this at, Britt? You gotta send us a link.
I'm gonna send you a link because it's on my cousin's page. So I'll send you the link, and I was just like 3 million views. My goodness, from playing the game. Yeah, play games. So there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Britt, you mentioned baseball. Shout out to CC Sabathia, Yankee, selected to the MLB Hall of Fame, along with Ichiro Suzuki and to Billy Wagner as well. But shout out to my man CC Carlson Charles Sabathia. Congratulations.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I saw that earlier too. Yeah. All right, good stuff, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys listening. Do us a favor, hit that like button, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We're trying to grow this channel. We're growing slowly but surely, but we can definitely appreciate any help you can give us in that way. We'll be back here live next Tuesday at 7 p.m. So for Brittany Jones and Kevin Walker, I'm Jason Collins. We'll see you guys next week.